For the next 31 days on the FCPA Compliance Report, we're going to be bringing you a daily tip, strategy, or idea that you can use to improve your program. Here's your host, Tom Fox, the Compliance Evangelist.
This month's sponsor of 31 Days to a More Effective Compliance program is Affiliated Monitors. Founded in 2004, Affiliated Monitors provides professional, independent integrity monitoring and ethics and compliance assessments nationally and internationally and across almost all industries. With its knowledge of effective ethics and compliance programs and cultures, Affiliated Monitors is respected for its work as the corporate monitor on matters ranging from multinational corporations to small and mid-sized companies and even individuals. Having served in over 750 monitorships, no one has more experience as an independent monitor than the team at Affiliated Monitors. For more information on how an independent monitor can help improve your company's ethics and compliance programs, visit this month's sponsor, Affiliated Monitors, at www.affiliatedmonitors.com. Measuring compliance training effectiveness. Since at least 2017, the DOJ has emphasized the need for a determination of compliance training effectiveness. In the 2020 update, it stated with the following question: how has the company measured the effectiveness of training? Have employees been tested on what they have learned? How has the company addressed employees who fail all or a portion of the testing? Has the company evaluated the extent to which testing has had an impact on employee behavior or operations? Compliance training is one of the subsystems that make up a compliance program, and Sean Rogers analogizes to an automobile. He compared it to the windshield wiper system and said that it might seem odd, but it provides an interesting analogy. The windshield wiper system is critical to vehicle safety, and nobody would want a car that didn't have windshield wipers. But wipers are a subsystem of the car's overall safety system. The car's entire safety system is designed to prevent crashes and to protect occupants when a crash occurs. Equally, a compliance training program is a subsystem. No company executive would ever say a company does not want to conduct compliance training. However, compliance training is one part of an overall compliance system. It is not the entire program. The compliance program is designed to prevent compliance violations and protect the company when a violation occurs. A good compliance training program provides clarity to the employees on how they are to behave in their daily jobs. When properly implemented, a compliance training program helps employees stay within the guardrails. A compliance training program fulfills a very specific purpose. There are other parts to a compliance program that have to be in place as well to prevent compliance lapses to keep the company safe. There are different ways to measure your training effectiveness. You can show that the training was aligned to the company's risk profile. Through user surveys and focus groups, you can measure whether learners felt that the training is applicable to their role, and you can measure their user satisfaction. You can ask learners to give examples of how they changed their behavior or the way they did their jobs based upon the training. One approach is to start at the beginning with an evaluation and move outward. This approach fulfills the DOJ requirements to answer the following questions. Have the employees been tested, and what have they learned? How has the company addressed employees who fail all or a portion of the testing? Has the company evaluated the extent to which the training has an impact on employee behavior or operations? What if you want to take your post-training analysis to a higher level and begin a more robust consideration of the effectiveness of compliance training? One way is to perform an assessment to determine compliance training ROI to demonstrate the money and resources put into compliance training. Here, there are 4 factors you can utilize for your compliance and ethics training analysis: engagement, learning, application, and implementation, and business impact. Figure out what you want to measure. Before you ever train an employee, you have to have a goal in mind. What actions do you want your employees to take? What risks do you want them to avoid? In compliance training, you have to avoid non-ethical and non-compliance actions, which could potentially lead to bigger violations. Your goal is to train employees to follow your code of conduct and your compliance program policies and procedures so you avoid liability related thereto. What about the question of, did the employees actually learn anything? A critical part of employee training is the assessment. You must know how they actually learned during the training. You can collect this data in a number of ways, but for compliance training, the best way is to measure post and pre-training understanding over time. Basically, each time you train an employee, measure comprehension both before and after the training. What about surveys? Well, surveys can provide feedback not simply on the compliance training to determine effectiveness, but a much wider variety of areas. These can provide critical information on the state of your compliance program and provide substantive feedback for further inclusion into your compliance program. Once again, this certainly ties into the 2020 update, which mandates that the compliance function utilize information to tie back in on a continuous monitoring and a continuous improvement basis. The importance of determining effectiveness of your compliance program was enshrined by the DOJ in its 2020 evaluation, but it's been ongoing since at least 2017. The 2020 evaluation demonstrates the DOJ wants to see evidence of the effectiveness of your compliance program. This is something many CCOs and compliance professionals still struggle to determine. Both the simple guidelines suggested here and the more robust assessment results provide you with a way to start to fulfill the precepts set out in the 2020 evaluation. But you will need to eventually demonstrate the effectiveness of your compliance program going forward. So what are today's 3 key takeaways? Well, obviously, number one, under the 2020 update to the evaluation of corporate compliance programs, you have to demonstrate that you have measured the effectiveness of your compliance training program. 2, the DOJ is clearly moving into this requirement, and you need to be ready to respond. And number 3, you should be moving towards a model of demonstrating compliance training ROI and to validate the full operationalization of your compliance training going forward. Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox. I'd like to thank you again for joining me for this episode of 31 Days to a More Effective Compliance Program around business ventures. And I hope you will join me for our next episode tomorrow. Also, I'd like to shout out to our sponsor, Affiliated Monitors, for sponsoring this month's podcast series. This podcast series on 31 Days to a More Effective Compliance Program is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.